Hi everybody, it's Jill Blanchett. I'm here with another way that you can make this box, base box, and then here is kind of what it makes. You can stuff all types of elements in these spaces between that I will show you and make this pop-up hexagon box. So what I'm going to do today is give you possibly an easier version of making this base from what I showed on a video a couple weeks ago. And let's get started So you're going to need your trimmer or a score board or something. We have a 1 3/4 inch by 11 piece of whatever color your base is going to be, and this will make the belly band around, or not necessarily a belly band, but the band around the box. So score at 1 3/4, 3 1/2, 5 1/4, 7, 8 3/4, and 10 1/2. And these little squares are 1 3/4 inches, and so you can know that for however you want to decorate it, to know how much you want to go down. If you want to go down 1/8 and make 2 layers, or go down 1/4, or just 1/8 and have 1 layer. Mine here is, I believe, down 1/8 of an inch, and I just have the 1 layer with this paper. So that is our finishing band. Then you need a piece that is 7 inches across by 9. We are going to score that at, on the 9-inch side, 1 1/2, 3, 3 3/4, 5 1/4, 6, 7 1/2, and 8 1/4. Turn it to the short side, 7-inch side, and cut it in half, because we need 2 pieces for this box. So we've got 2 of those pieces at 3 1/2 inches. Now you can, we can work with this from the, as being the top. I'll tell you however you want to do it. You can have this be the top, this be the top. I'm just going to leave the 1 1/2 score line at the top of my paper, or at the top of my cutter, because we are going to trim at 7/8 of an inch. We're going to cut from the 1 1/2 inch line up to the 3 1/2 inch line. Then go ahead and put the other side at 7/8 of an inch and do the same thing. You're going to cut from the 1 1/2 inch line up to the 3-inch line. We want this cut out right here. All right. Let me go ahead and cut this one as well. So we got 7/8 of an inch. We're going to go from the 1 inch to the 3-inch. We're going to put it at 7/8 and go from 1 inch, or it's 1 1/2, sorry, to 3-inch. And now we have our piece cut there. I'm going to set that one aside. We're just going to work with one for now. So real quick, I'm going to get my pencil and show you. We've got a, this is at 7/8 inch. You're going to cut We got to score at 1 3/4, 3, 3 3/4, 5 1/4, 6, 7 1/2, and 8 1/4. So now you'll need a ruler, and we're just going to do like some lines, and I'm going to press hard so that you could see my lines on the video. But when you're doing this, you may want to press lightly so that when you cut your score lines, if you don't cut directly on the line, you won't have any remnants of the lead in your project. So we're going to draw a line from the bottom corner up to the 1 1/2. I wrote that wrong. Sorry, guys. Looking at the wrong 1 1/2, 3, 3 3. Okay. So we're going to draw the line up from the corner to the 1 1/2. You'll want to do that on both sides. And so if it's easier for you to do one and go back and do the other, that works too. Then at the 7/8 score line at the top of it, on the 3 line, you're going to draw a line over to 3/4 inch in. So put a little dot on 3/4. Oops, wrong line. On your 3 3/4 inch line, put a dot at 3/4. Let me make sure that could be half. Yes, ma'am. It's half. Probably got you all screwed up by now. All right, so half. So now we're going to go from that cut line up here to half. Again, we'll mark 1/2 inch in, and we will go from that cut line up to half. Now, I'm not saying that this way is for everybody. You may decide that you want to do it the original way that my video showed, where you're folding and snipping and folding and snipping. That might be easier for you. So now we need 1/2 inch, or halfway between the 3 3/4 and 5 1/4 lines. We need to mark at a line, a little dot at 3/4 inch. That's our center of this square. Okay. And then we're going to bring this 3 3/4 inch line that we just made up 1 inch in. So we've got our 3/4 inch to mark our center, and there's an inch. Okay, so then we're going to come in. We've got our 3/4 inch mark. I didn't need to make it in so far, and make it mark at 1 inch. Then we're going to connect this line to the 1 inch line. Like so. Then we're going to draw a line from there straight up to the 6 inch line. So we'll go from the 6 inch line to that dot that we just made at the 1 inch. We're going to go all the way up to the 6 inch line. You with me? Is yours looking something like that? Let's see if I got it in the... I tried to zoom the camera out far enough to fit it all in the screen. So now we're going to come up here and mark 1 inch in on both sides. And we're going to draw a line down to the 7 1/2 inch. Oops. And move so we'll go from that dot down to the 7.5 inch. And that is everywhere that you need to cut. On all those lines that we just drew, we will cut those out. So you'll cut up, across, 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 and cut those corners out. And then that will give you this. And can you see I got like some lead right there. So you'll want to, like I said, press lightly. So when we get that all cut out, this is what we're left with. And then I'm just going to show you, in case you didn't watch the other video, I'm going to show you, here's my template. You're going to go ahead and put some adhesive here. If you're using tear and tape, put it on now. If you're going to use liquid glue, wait a second. Then at the 7.5 inch, between the 7.5 and the 8.25, that's where you're going to put a 3/4 inch strip. Well, this is 3/4. You'll want to cut it back a little bit. It's just going to depend how much space you want to show between your lines, your score lines. Mine, I believe I cut mine at like 7/8 because I wanted it pretty snug up again there. So go ahead and put your designer series paper there. Then we're going to flip it over, and we're going to, on this bottom piece, right before this funnel looking piece, we're going to put a piece of designer series paper again, right there. And then make sure you've burnished on your fold lines. Then hold this side in one hand of where the paper is, and then this side where the paper is goes in like your other hand, and then this will flip down. So it's going to look kind of like a lid. And then they will fold up like so. You can also lay that flat so that the designer series paper is up, and then glue that so that the designer series paper is up against that. Then you can flip it over, put some glue on this piece here, and that's between the 5.25 and the 6. And then you will fold up this triangular piece from the very bottom. Fold that up onto that, and you will have like this tube looking piece. It'll look like this. And you'll do that twice. You'll make 2 of these. So watch for your directional paper, if this paper is directional, because the next one will go up against it. Let me take this one apart so I could show you. So you'll make the second box and glue them together. Oh, I told you to put tear tape here or glue. So before you glue this down like that, peel your tape off or put your liquid glue down there, but only go down to the tip because you need that little bit of space in here to tuck your goodies in there. So then that'll glue shut with a little bit of a like a space between them, so that you can get this one, you can glue, glue well so that it stays shut. You'll make 2 of those, and then you will glue them together the same way along the bottom. You just want a little bit of glue so that you've got room to tuck your elements that you're going to create in there. So then you'll have this back side then, and then you'll have this back side. So go ahead and put some glue on the back side, and then stick one of your squares on there. Just line up one of your squares and stick it on there. Make sure that you got this lip here. So make sure that your wrap around is touching the bottom. And then you can just fold it around. Just fold it around, and you can kind of give it a little tug type of thing. You want it snug. Then have glue on this piece and glue that kind of down. You might want to even start over here with this side so that you've got your flap, your little tiny flap piece on there first. Glue that one down. And then come in with this side, and it'll cover that little tiny piece, like so. And then there's your box. Your box is all set to go. It pushes down inside and collapses like that to for mailing. And then what you just need to do now is tuck your, whatever I'm going to call it a scene, whatever scene you're going to put in there, and you can push it up to get them to go in those spaces. Let me show you if you want to push it up a little bit, that'll separate the pieces a little bit. Mine are kind of glued together now because when I stuck things in there, I glued them in the front and the back, so they're kind of gluing them, I'm going to say shut, but like this one's not. I got a big piece of designer series paper in this one, so that's that. You can put a sentiment on there or pop something up else in there. But that, you guys, is how to make this piece by just drawing the lines with this, I'm going to call it a template. So hopefully you can see that better. Again, this is 3.5 by 9. You got to line it 1.5, 3, 3 3/4, 5 1/4, 6, 7.5, 8 1/4. You're going to slice a couple pieces, and this just made it easier in my mind to leave these little slices in there from the original. You're going to make a little slice in there between the 1.5 and 3 score lines at 7/8 inches on both sides. Then you're just going to start like drawing. So you're going to come up from the corner to your 7/8 inch line. You're going to come in 1/2 inch at 3 3/4. This is 1/2 inch inward and draw a dot. Then you're going to come from this 7/8 inch line and make your line up to that 1/2 inch in dot. Up here, you're going to find the center of the 3 3/4 to 5 1/4, and that's at 3 3/4. So find the center and make a dot at 1 inch, and then you're going to connect your 3 3/4 dot to that one. Then you're going to connect that dot up to the 6 inch outside, and then you're going to 7.5 to 1 inch in. You're going to make a dot at 1 inch on both sides, and then draw that line down to the 7.5 inch score line. Cut all those out, and you will have this left. And then from there, like I said, this will be glue. I recommend tear tape, but you can use liquid glue, but don't do it till you're ready to fold it shut. This piece has designer series paper. Flip it over. The first piece above this funnel has designer series paper. Make sure your folds are all burnished real well. Then, like I said, this is like a top of a box. Put your liquid glue and fold it up on itself, or lay it flat with the glue and join up the two designer series papers. Flip it, glue between the 5 1/4 and 6, glue that real well, and then fold that up on it, and that makes one of these, and you'll make 2 of those and your band. So I'm done blabbing and going over it. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully you give it a try. Thanks for watching. I will be back next week live. I am gone this week to the On Stage in Raleigh, North Carolina. And that's it, you guys. Take care. I'll be back.